Hello and welcome to Scrolling with Ceazor. Today is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. Okay, I got a lot of news for you today, but as always, this isn't financial advice. This is just my own biased opinions based on some of the tweets I have decided to talk about today. So before we get into that, let's take a quick look at ETH markets as well as gold. So my concentrated liquidity position is outside of range. So currently I should be almost all in WST ETH, earning the WST ETH APR. Which is about 2.7% or something like that right now. So I'm okay with that. Am I going to rebalance and change this? Probably not right now. I might think about how changing this to an actual reoccurring order with like a buy low, sell high ranges as opposed to and get out of the concentrated liquidity position now that it is, but I'm going to kind of see where things go from here. Okay, so let's take a look at gold as a comparison. Gold is not in the red today. As you can see, it's actually a little bit green, still pumping around inside my range, which is quite nice, and getting me those little spreads, those little profitable spreads. Okay, I don't remember what fee I have, but it's going to be something normal size, like 0.3% or something like that. So I'm okay with that. Let's keep that going. I feel okay. I do wish ETH would pump a little bit more. Mind you, if it does come down a little bit lower, I might set up a buy order down a little bit lower just in case things go down. And I do have some, some bold inside the liquidity stability pool in case people do get liquidated. I will be buying some ETH low on that as well. Okay, so anyhow, that's that. So here we have Ceazor trading. He says things are looking good. He's got a nice, beautiful curve right here, a nice line saying that ETH is going to bounce here and continue upward, which is fantastic. I like this curve. I like this line. I hope he's right, and that's it. So let's go. Let's LFG Castillo. Okay, moving on. Here I have some news. Oh, okay. Yeah, this was Pendle, Crypto Lynn. I did comment on her. What did I say here? I didn't even read her post. I just kind of looked at the picture and I said, "Good play, tickle the funny bone." And then there's a bunch of stuff in here about like why Pendle. She's bullish on Pendle this year. Oh, okay, but let's move on. So here you have Igneous. I have two tweets from him today, okay? But this is the big news today about basically about Base leaving Optimism. You'll see this talked about all over Twitter today if you decide to scroll, and it's pretty like strange. Like Base has basically decided that they don't want to be an Optimism superchain anymore. They don't want to use the Optimism superstack. So the next couple of tweets are kind of about this. So let's read through what Igneous says, and then I'll read through what some other people say, and then I'll talk a little bit about it, okay? Optimism OP Collective just lost 94% of its fee revenue sharing. Base paid 13 ETH a day versus 0.8 ETH from every other superchain combined. In return, Base received 118 million OP tokens over 6 years. But with OP at 18 cents today, down on this news, the deal looks very different than when it was signed at $1.50. Okay, so he might be defending. I don't know if he's defending Base's decision to move away from the Optimism stack and to stop paying that that fee to Optimism. And business is business, I guess. Base has the right to do whatever they want to do, right? They are their own chain, and that's the beauty of these like L2 this L2 system where you can have an L2 however you want. You can become an Optimism superchain, and then you can leave and become a regular L2, and you can even leave and become your own L1. So that's the way kind of crypto is working in these senses. The chains themselves are not immutable and completely trustless. Okay, so consider this, okay? Think about this. Think about like what's happening, especially if you have a significant amount of assets on base. It might be important for you to consider this quite deeply. And let's see what some other people say, okay? So here we have Lefterus. I can't say his last name. I'm sorry, Lefterus. And what does he say? So base is moving off OP stack. They claim decentralization without addressing the elephant in the room, their infra needs. So he says, Etherscan base API is paid only. So if you want to use the Etherscan, then you have to pay for it on base. That's basically what I'm reading here. Root scan stopped indexing, and Block Scout has indexing issues. So the chain you can't read is a chain you shouldn't use. So I agree with this completely. If base wants to leave the OP stack, then they have to make sure they have the entire infrastructure set up already. And then they also need to fund public goods themselves. Etherscan needs to be there. It needs to function flawlessly. Otherwise, people are not going to use it probably. Now, of course, there are still going to be people who are Coinbase users who enter the ecosystem via Coinbase and then decide, oh, let's go on chain, and they go to base. That will always happen. But will people then leave base to go to other L2s or even L1, right? We don't know, okay? So this is kind of, let's move on to what Scoopy says. Scoopy Trooples says, so Optimism, he's one of the projects that actually did not deploy Alchemix. So his Alchemix is Scoopy Troops project, right? And you can check it out. I've got videos on Alchemix. Version 2 is coming out soon, blah, blah, blah. Or version 3 is coming out soon, blah, 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 blah. So Alchemix is on Optimism, and they didn't actually deploy to base. As far as I know, they might have been thinking about it. But anyways, let's see what he says. So Optimism pivoted to a superchain L2 betting on the plurality of L2s with some exclusive interoperable compatibility. So what is he talking about here? He's talking about like Optimism, when they first came out, they were just an L2. And then they're like, let's make this superchain idea where there will be many L2s and they can all kind of use our stack, pay our little like fees that are required. And I don't actually know how the fees are working. Maybe I should think about that and look at it a little bit deeper. But so all of these kind of like L2s can kind of become an Optimism style L2, and people can kind of, those L2s can kind of pay their dues because they're using the Optimism code stack, right? So they get several chains, dozens of so chains launch under the OP stack umbrella, and base thrives, becoming basically the leading L2 and seemingly validating the Optimism superchain business plan. So yeah, so everything was looking pretty good until this announcement came out, like I think it was yesterday or the day before. So everything was looking great. Optimism had all these chains. All these chains were working. They're all working together, and they're building this cool superchain, right? Then good guy Coinbase decides that they can't live in someone else's ecosystem and must own their own stack, which is 99% Optimism's code. So yeah, so now Base is like, oh, we already got your trade secrets. We don't need to pay you anymore. We're going to just do it ourselves. So that's kind of what he's saying here. It's obvious that they are trying to own their whole stack across many verticals and are willing to throw the partners responsible for their success under the bus as soon as it's convenient, and typical corpo faction. Interesting business strategy. We'll see how many people will want to play ball with them. Okay, so I do think that I do think people will continue to use Base, and Base will continue to thrive to some extent because they are funded by Coinbase, which is a very successful business already. To say the word funded maybe is the wrong word, but definitely supported, right? But then we have here Captain Grumpy's replies to him. It says, people will play ball with them because they have all the customers who use L2s. It's just business. ETH needs to start to realize its incentives don't revolve around vibes and kindness as we share. So he's kind of saying that like business is business, and if you don't play ball in the business room, then you just get kind of left outside the business room, right? Which is kind of true and sad, but we'll see. Okay. It's just the one thing that I kind of think about is that it's like 99% of the optimism's code, and there's no legal requirement for Base to stay in optimism. Otherwise they wouldn't do it, right? They wouldn't leave. So they're legally not required to stay, and they're just going to fork the code and use it themselves. But there is an honor there. There is some morality there that they are throwing their morality under the bus for the sake of business, right? Which is kind of business, but at the same time, I like to think that the world can revolve, business can be successful and moral at the same time, but maybe I'm wrong. Moving on. So Brett does mention a little bit about this as well. So he's talking about Mega ETH because that's what he does, right? And that's who he is. So, but he does kind of mention some comparisons between Mega ETH and Base and Solana and stuff like that. So let's kind of look at what's going on here. And it's kind of like he's kind of saying now is time. Base has done this thing to optimism. So let's take a look at the other options and see if there's something there. And Mega ETH is one of these options, okay? So let's kind of look what he says. So Base increases their fees 2.x to protect the chain from low-value bloat and spam. So yeah, to send transactions on Base has gotten 2.5% more expensive because they claim it's because they want to stop spam and bots and Sybil attacks and stuff like this. Now, the thing is this, okay? I believe it was Sam from Rise who tweeted a little while ago, and he talked about this. I wish I should have dug for it, but I just thought of this now. He talked about the idea that a chain is like a supermarket, and they make all their money when congestion is high, and they kind of subsidize the rest of the time and then make a ton of money when the chain is high. So right now they're increasing their profits by increasing the fees to use the chain, and they're saying they're doing it because they want to protect against high bloat, right, spam and stuff like that. But I do think it's more of a case of they just want more profits, right? I believe. But anyways, I don't know. So reminder that Base is already 10x the transfer cost of Mega ETH, even while we pumped 70x of the entire capacity through it. And these concerns downstream in structural limitations of the MPT, which is why we implemented SALT. There's a lot of things in here I don't know. I don't know what this MPT is. I don't know what this SALT is. But if you kind of just look at the chart here he says mega gas per second. So Mega has tons of gas and Base is low. TPS, Mega's got way more than both Solana and Base. And then token transfer cost. So token transfer is the most simplest transaction you can kind of send on any blockchain right now. And Solana is significantly higher than Mega ETH, and Base is more than significantly higher than both of them. So they're increasing the cost to use the chain. Now, do they need to? Maybe they do. Maybe business requires them to do it. Maybe they're losing money, right? I don't know. I don't know exactly. But, as a user, do I want to do this? I will basically, I don't do a lot of high frequency transactions. I don't do a lot of trading. I look for APR. I'm a yield farmer. So I will send my assets to whatever chain I feel comfortable using, because of its stack, right? And its exitability, its bridging and stuff like that. I'll send my assets to any of those, and I will farm APR based on where that APR is that I feel is safe in those protocols that are there, okay? So will I move my assets because of token transfer cost? No, I won't, because of my personal strategies. I don't do a lot of transactions. But if APR drops as well, because a lot of people who do a lot of transactions stop using Base, then I will move my assets, right? So there are, as you can see, raising the cost to do transactions will affect me if it lowers the APR of people borrowing or people doing stuff with the assets I've put, like whether it's LPing or borrowing or what have you. Okay, so let's moving on to something completely different. So here we have a post by Dual9YYC. He's kind of talking, he's kind of mentioning yield basis. Now, I do have yield basis tokens, so I'm a little bit biased here, and I hope that yield basis doesn't have this problem that Dual9 is talking about. And I will talk about that he's not completely right, and I'll explain myself in a second. But let's first see what he says, okay? Imagine you put $1 million into yield basis vault. So in order to do that, you would be putting in some sort of BTC or WETH, okay? If you don't know how yield basis works, I have a video. You can check my channel. You can understand how yield basis works, the idea of yield basis, okay? Your Coinbase is your Coinbase BTC yield is an impressive 10.5% APR. However, if you plan to withdraw your position, you pay 16% penalty. This market is a joke. None of these APR figures are real. It's all fugazi. Now, that's FUD, okay? He doesn't understand the system to say that, okay? Of course, he's not completely incorrect, but he's not giving you the full picture, and that's a problem. That's the problem we see all over crypto Twitter. I don't think Dual9 is intentionally doing this. I don't think he was paid to say this. I think he's just kind of clickbaiting, right, and trying to get interactions, and by just not showing the whole picture. Now, I do have a tweet here. It's a long article by Yield Basis Llama. He's part of the Llama team. And you can read through this, and it'll explain exactly why he's technically not right or he's not. This is the full picture. So read through this. It's very straightforward. It's a long read, and this will help you to understand what's going on here if that's something you want to read. I'm not going to go through all of it because it is quite long, but I will talk a little bit about it, okay? So basically, this Coinbase put into this vault is put into a liquidity pool position versus CRV-USD. And as Coinbase has volatility, then people are going to, especially if Coinbase, let's call it Coinbase BTC, if the BTC price starts dropping drastically, which it has been, right, then people are going to sell the BTC through these pools because the pool is still, what am I thinking? The pool is still selling Coinbase above the price, BTC above the price that other markets are doing. It's called arbitrage, right? So it's going to get filled with more and more and more BTC. And then the way liquidity pools work is, especially curve liquidity pools, is if the ratio of tokens on one side is a lot higher than the ratio of tokens on the other side. So think of something like when you first put the tokens in, you have 50-50, and then people are selling tons of Coinbase and taking away the CRV-USD, right? Then you have a ton of BTC and very little CRV-USD, right? And then, so now the pool is out of balance. And if you want to pull out your BTC, then you're going to get a benefit or you're going to get a penalty. And so right now there's a lot of CRV-USD inside the pool, or there's a lot of BTC inside the pool, and if you pull out, you will get a penalty for pulling out when the pool is out of balance, okay? Now, will it fix? Yes, it will fix over time. Like this happens when there is high volatility. So when there's high volatility, there's a lot of trading fees, but the pool gets out of balance. And you have to wait until the pool gets back into balance. So the price of BTC corrects somewhat, whether it goes up from being down or down from being up, right? And it kind of becomes a little bit, the pool rebalances based on like the volatility slows down, okay? And the price moves a little bit and people, the arbitrageurs, go back the other way that they went through here. So it's just a matter of waiting. Like, yes, if you withdraw right now at this situation, you are going to lose the money that you made. But you have to remember, BTC holders are hodlers. And here they are hodling and getting 10%, whereas if they hold the token, they're hodling and getting nothing, right? Getting no APR. Maybe they're getting a little bit from some other place they've deposited, but they're getting nothing. And here they just need to hodl. And it's not like the price has to go back to the price that they deposited. It just needs to go back enough that the ratio is back to a comfortable, healthy ratio, and then they can withdraw without penalties. I hope this makes sense. So I think it's not a big deal. Like, he's making a big deal out of it, especially when he says this market is a joke for Godzilla. Like I think he's being like dramatic here, and kind of like, these people just need to wait. That's it. Of course, they should have understood this when they deposited, and I assume they did. You should do your research, and you should understand it's all in the docs that says that this can happen. And there is a deep article here that explains everything, very, very, very deep dived everything. So you can read this and understand it, right? But anyways, I hope this is, I hope I've explained this enough. I don't want to dwell too much on it because I've got a lot of other things to talk about. But yeah, like I don't know. Like, I think he's just kind of clickbaiting and so forth. And what I will do is I'll just be like, read this, and I'll reply to him. And I'm mentioning here, read this to understand. Yeah. So again, I'm a little bit biased here. Maybe I want yield basis to succeed. And for my own reason, right, my own purposes, I want it to succeed. So I'm biased, and maybe he's right and I'm completely wrong because I'm biased. But anyways, you decide. You think about you. Okay. So here we have a tweet by Ramses, one of my favorite dexes. And these autovotes are great. So 76% of all XRAM is currently in the auto votes. So someone said auto votes and they replied yes. I replied to it as well. I haven't got a reply back yet. But yeah, so I talked about auto votes several times on my podcast in the past couple of weeks. They're fantastic. These are exactly what I want in a VE33 DEX type voting thing. It's basically, it votes for me. It votes across all the pools based on fees. It collects the most possible fees that it can and converts them all to the token I've chosen. In my case, USDC or USDT or Hype. And it's on several chains now too. So yeah, you can check it out. I like this. This is fantastic. Let's move on. Yesterday, I did a snack sandwich video on this thing called Pandora AI. I kind of made a little bit of a mistake, so I want to talk a little bit about that. There is a product called Parlay, which is not what I'm describing here. So what I'm describing here is Pandora AI, and Parlay is more like the ability to use AI to multi-bet on different markets inside Polymarket, okay? So if you're watching this video, forget about the word parlay and the fact that I have the word parlay here. Just ignore that and just think, oh, this is a video about Pandora, which is a product coming out on Monday. And so there's no front end. There's no ability to see that front end right now. And this is another product by the Hey Anon AI ecosystem, okay? So my video is still accurate. It's just that one little specific thing that I used the word parlay in the middle, and it shouldn't be parlay. It's actually just Pandora AI, which is a decentralized AI-driven prediction markets. Okay, so anyhow, so here's Daniel Siesta. He's OG. We all know who he is. If you're listening to me, you probably know who he is. If you don't know who he is, I'm sorry. I don't want to explain everything who he is. Some people hate him. Some people like him. I have a good history with him. So I I will support the things. I believe in some of the stuff he builds and stuff like that. So he's kind of the lead for this new thing called Pandora. And here he is talking about, he's sharing some information about Polymarket and some of the things that Polymarket is lacking. And that is kind of why he's created this Pandora to kind of fix the problems that Polymarket has. Okay, so there's quite a few things in here. You can read through them, but there are some key ones that I just kind of want to highlight. Like, first of all, Netherlands has banned Polymarket. Okay, there's a shit ton of Netherlands users who now can't use it because it's Polymarket. But most of the things that are mentioned here are like, you know, Polymarket has a history of UMA whales basically swinging markets, just resolving markets incorrectly because they have financial incentive to do so. Like, they bet one way, the market, the result is the other way, but they are the arbiters, so they just say, no, we're good. We're just going to make it us win, right? So that's one of the big things. There's this other aspect where, like, Polymarkets, like, if you are, it's very centralized in the sense that, like, if you, let's read what it says here. Operators have the power to match different orders in any order or discard particular orders altogether. Admins are allowed to pause the contracts which halt the order processing. So on Polymarket, the user experience is very, very nice, but it's not actually, you're not actually trading tokens on chain. You're sending your orders to a centralized entity, and the entity is ordering those in whatever order they want, executing those orders for you, and then sending you your result, right? Which is very different than having liquidity pools on chain and your order is just sent to the mempool and executed that way, right? It is very, very different. So I can see why Netherlands is thinking to ban Polymarket, but they won't be able to ban this new product, Pandora AI, because Pandora AI will be fully on chain. Okay, watch my video if you want to understand how this Pandora is going to work. But these things are it's all on chain. Okay, so those are the two key things inside here. Now you can read through all of it. He has a lot of things. Talks a lot about, like, this kind of private server of Polymarket, what's wrong with Polymarket. You can read through all of them, but I think those two main things are the main things that I would like to highlight. I will share this tweet, of course, and you can dig deeper and research it more. Okay, moving on. Okay, so here we have yesterday 20 plus protocols have added through X42 submissions. Here's an update to the agentic commerce landscape. Okay, so yeah, this guy here is talking a lot about AI agents and how they're going to be interacting with stuff. And this is a list of all of these kind of projects through our ecosystem of different sorts that have kind of added this functionality for AI agents to interact with it. Via a standardized code base, basically. So you can kind of check this out. I still think there is a lot of potential, and that we will see a lot of AI just taking over and over and over and over in this system. There are some AI agent type things that I use, and there are some that I stay away from. And I just don't want the risk and stuff like that. I'm not going to give my private keys to an agent. However, I might spin up an agent and fund him with some money. I've done this several times in the past, and I still have some AI agent type things where, things are being rebalanced and stuff with AI and stuff like that. So I do like it. I do think it's coming, but I do think people need to be risk aware of what they're doing with these AI agents. But yeah, it's not going away. Okay, so projects need to kind of think about AI and interact with it in a proper way. Okay, so let's move on to liquidity. So liquidity is just kind of talking a little bit about stablecoin yields. I've mentioned these guys many, many times, and I'm going to continue to mention them because I really like it. And of course, I'm biased as crap. Like I have I have quite a bit of bold tokens. Liquidity is a sponsor for my podcast, so I'm going to continue to mention them. But I do think I'm happy to mention them because, like, look at this. Okay, so if you have your tokens, if you have your stable coins in Y bold, which is Yearn's bold, or S bold, which is like basically another compounding bold. So these assets are sent to the stability pool, and if there are liquidations, then they get ETH, right? They get the different collaterals, and then those collaterals are immediately sold for more stable coins via those vaults, those mechanisms. So yeah, if you look, during this volatile time, and especially during the decreasing in value of ETH, people are getting liquidated, and these stability pools are quite lucrative. 11% versus all of these other percentages of simple savings accounts for stablecoins. Okay, just stablecoins being easy to use. Like, you don't have to provide a bunch of liquidity. You don't have to move stuff around. You don't need to assess a lot. You just deposit and kind of forget about it. And it's quite lucrative right now. Okay, so check it out. If you want to know how liquidity works, again, I have videos on my channel. You can check them out. Let's move on. So here is an important thing for Yearn ecosystem holders. If you hold the YFI token and you had it into the VE position, then you need to migrate. I don't know exactly all the details of why this migration is happening. I'm going to look into it, but I do want to mention it today because it is news today. So basically, Epoch 0 ends tonight. If you want to earn rewards for the next 2 weeks, you need to migrate your VE YFI to STYFI. And then stake your liquid locking tokens or stake your YFI. So here are some links that you can get this done, right? So you can do this, right? Migrate. Now, I'm not sure why this migration is happening. I'm going to do my research. Maybe I'll mention it tomorrow if I find out and I remember to talk about it. But I think it's important to mention it because there are a lot of people who follow me and listen to me are YFI users. Maybe they are VE YFI holders and they should migrate. Okay, moving on. EtherFi. I've been looking a lot at EtherFi recently because I've been looking for a good card for using paying via crypto and to avoid the whole off-ramping system. And I kind of like the way EtherFi is working. Yesterday, I talked mostly about them as in regards to the fact that they are providing several products to users. EtherFi started off as a liquid staking token. So you stake ETH, you get EtherFi ETH, and so there was a liquid staking token, but now they have all these other things. That they have this cash account, they have stable coins, like stablecoin vaults, and like I was talking yesterday about Frax is going to send actual yield directly to people who hold Frax USD in their EtherFi cash account, and you can use your cash account to fund your credit card. So, and you can also use your collaterals inside your cash account. So if you put in like something like LitoStake ETH or Rocket ETH or whatever, you put something like this into there, then you can use it as collateral to borrow to use your credit card. So you can use your credit card with borrowed US dollars versus your collateral, which is interesting. I don't really plan to do that because then I got to monitor like interest rates and stuff like that, because you're borrowing, you're going to pay interest. So that is actual credit then, as opposed to just spending money that you've made. I like to manage my finances in I want to have more control over what I'm paying to borrow if I do borrow. And then like profits. I'm generally using some profits or sponsorships and stuff like that to pay for life, right? I don't really want to pay for life with borrowed assets as much as I can, because I don't want to have to pay, like, incur that interest. Like, I don't want to pay interest on food I bought, right? I just want to, but maybe it's a smart thing to do, because then there's tax implications, and if you have a ton of money versus assets, it might be a good idea to do that. But anyways, so EtherFi is moving to Optimism. So they're doing the opposite of what Base is doing. They're doubling down on Optimism, and they're moving their accounts there. There's not anything you need to do. It just basically says your EtherFi accounts are safe. Over the coming months, we will work closely with Optimism team so that the migration will be smooth and secure for our users. Until then, you can use your EtherFi products as usual. Follow EtherFi for more news. So I like this. EtherFi is doubling down on Optimism instead of running away from Optimism. So they are supporting Optimism in a sense. Was there any money exchanged hands? I don't know. I don't really care. I just want to know whether or not my assets in EtherFi are safe or not. And I will continue to look deeper at EtherFi and their Cash Card as a result. Okay, moving on. So here we have a product called 3Jane. I don't think I've talked about them in the past, but I have been looking at this for a while. It's pretty interesting. It's basically the first that I'm aware of like uncollateralized like borrowing. So basically it's using Equifax. So it's using your actual credit rating. So if you are an American burger, you can kind of check out 3Jane and you can borrow assets based on your credit and stuff like this. I haven't done a full video on this thing yet, so I don't have a complete understanding. And I'm also not US based, so it's kind of like, if I do this, it's just purely not even for my own use, right? So I kind of don't want to, but maybe I will. We'll see. But so US-based users can connect their bank and Credit Karma and get an unsecured credit line within 24 hours. So if you need a loan, it's not, I don't think this is for like buying a house or a mortgage, but if you need some money to do something, you can kind of use this thing to just get a quick borrow. And then maybe you need to pay something or right away and you don't have the cash, you can use your credit here to borrow and then pay it, and then you pay it back. Like, think of it like a loan shark sort of, but not really, right? It's on chain and stuff, and they're not going to come. But they will use Equifax to chase people down, so credit ratings and stuff like that. But here they're talking about Flying Tulip. So if you did put money into Flying Tulip, then now you can currently right now borrow 30% of your USDC with zero collateral, but you need your credit scores and crypto. So if you are a burger and you did deposit into Flying Tulip's puts, so that's their fundraising, lossless fundraising system. I got videos on that if you want to check that out. So you can now use that NFT that you have as kind of collateral to borrow about 30% of the value. And yeah, so you can check it out. Moving on. So here we have Anigas again talking about tokens, token sales, token launches, and how bad they are being. Now I've got two tweets about this topic. So let's kind of read through what Ignis says, and then I'll show you the next one, and then I'll talk about my thoughts on this. Dumping price on week one is almost fatal. Only 9% of the tokens that fell early finished the year positive. So 90% or 86% of all tokens who lose their value in the first week have recovered in the year, have come back, okay? Start price matters. 75% tokens launched under 100 million FTV were up after a month versus 22 above 500 million. So if you increase the value of your token significantly, if you put the value of your token very high when you first start your LP, then you're less likely to recover. That's what he's saying, okay? 80% of airdrop receivers dumped on day one. Yeah, this is always the case. Almost all tokens, you get an airdrop, you dump. Even me, I tend to dump at least half. Like it's kind of my rule. Dump half, get the money right away, and then see what happens with the market. With pre-sale, participants show a 65% retention rate on day one, but continue dumping if price increases. Favor tokens with liquidity concentrated on one chain. Splitting 1 million TVL across 3 trends weakens depth and is bad for price. This is interesting. I like this. So instead, if you are planning on launching a token, he's saying like it's much better to just do it on one chain and have all of your liquidity there than to spread to other chains and have less liquidity on all those chains. Market makers sell 50% of the tokens to bootstrap quote assets under a token loan agreement. So yeah, if you give market makers tokens, what are they going to do? They're going to sell half of them right away, or sell the pump. They're just going to sell it, and then they're going to be like, oh, we needed it to provide liquidity on the buy side, right? So that's bad. Pre-market perps are a source of significant downward pressure. So if you push for you can't stop Hyperliquid or Lighter or whatever from making pre-market of your token. You can't stop them. But here is a suggestion that you probably shouldn't push for it. You probably shouldn't reach out to them and try to get a pre-market, because it's been pretty bad, the results of those pre-markets. And then it's always like pre-markets are always, it gives you a history of your token that is not actually accurate, because it's like you have a history of token action, price action, that is not the actual action of your token, because it's pre-market, right? So 90% of token unlocks were followed by price drops. Team unlocks hit hardest, averaging 25% decline over 38. I really like this post, Ignis. Good job. So yeah, like the token cliffs, almost always, like almost all the teams are just dumping all their tokens when they unlock, okay? Which is kind of sad, I think. This gap exists. The team members sell independently without coordination, using taker orders that increase price impact. So yeah, these teams are not even like just providing liquidity above price and letting the pump sell their tokens. They're just like market selling, boosh, 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 right? And it just that's rough. So yeah. So then here, they're basically these are, I guess, not his ideas. These are ideas of Iraqis. Basically, they analyzed 125 token launches, and these are the points that the Iraqis came up with, and then he's kind of rephrasing them. So good job, Ignis, on sharing this. I thought these were your ideas. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't read through this. But anyhow, that's it. So yeah, take a look at that. Here is another article by Eli 5 DeFi, which basically is based on the data of that Iraqi's research, and it goes into a lot more in depth and than Ignis did. And so you can read through this as well, which is basically a paraphrase or a rewording of all of what Iraqis put out. Okay, so I do think both of these are worth reading, especially reading Iraqi's report. Okay, moving on. This is something I don't know. Okay, so here we have Doomer. Doomer says Charles Hawkins. I should hide this picture so I don't laugh. Charles Hawkins announces that Cardano network will be sunsetted on December 31st, 2026. Wants to take a break from crypto to focus on his AI-assisted pig farm, Discord. And then he's been community corrected, whatever. Charles Hawkins has no control over the 3,000 plus independent stake pool operators running Cardano network. If Hawkinson's really made such an announcement missing, it would be void, as Charles Hawkins or anyone else does not have the power to shut down the chain. So yeah, I community notes, great. That's awesome. I don't hold Cardano. I don't want to. I guess you call me an ETH maxi, right? I don't want to hold Cardano. I think it's a dead ecosystem. But, if Charles Hawkins leaves and decides he wants to do stuff like what he's doing in this picture instead, he just wants to retire, I think Cardano will get hurt even more. Whether he can shut down the network or not, he does have a significant pool of validators as far as I remember through his entity, right? I can't remember what it's called, but there are independent validators, lots of them. They can continue to run the ecosystem, but without their main spokesperson, will it recover? Will it become glorious? I don't know. That's for you to decide. But I'm pretty I'm not going to play that game. Put it that way. And this Doomer guy, I kind of feel like, really, dude, like. People are so bad at tweeting stuff, and I really like that, community notes corrects people like this and so forth. But anyways, that's that. I've got one more tweet for you, and it's a real life type thing. It's talking about, he's like, this guy is complaining that his refrigerator died again. He's like, this is the second refrigerator in 10 years. It's a Whirlpool, plain Jane, no bells and whistles, no fancy screens. They bought it for simplicity, thinking it would be the one thing in their house that just worked. So they went out, they bought a refrigerator, and they just wanted the simple model so that they wouldn't have any problems with, like, the computer stops working, or some update messes something up. It's just going to work. It's just simple. And it's broken after 5 years, exactly 30 days past the warranty. The repairman's verdict, the dead compressor. This is kind of what I hate this about our life now. Like, business is business. Everyone's like, all these companies, they are making things that don't last, specifically because then people will need to replace them. And he talks a lot in here about the green regulations and efficient energy stuff. So he's paying more money for stuff because it's high efficiency. It's green. It saves him a few cents of electricity a month. But in 5 years, the whole $1,000 is thrown into some garbage dump. He's a racket. The government mandates the specs. The manufacturers cut the quality. The consumer is left holding the bag of spoiled milk. We don't own appliances anymore. We lease them from the scrapyard. So yeah, it's like, I remember I saw a video a little while ago that was like, this refrigerator is like still functioning after like 80 years. It's just like this old tank, metal, like giant, heavy refrigerator, like the ones with the handles, you pull them down and then it opens. And it's just like this beast, right? And like, maybe it's noisy, but it just keeps working, right? So yeah, I feel sorry for Wade here. It says he's a pastor, sheep farmer, husband, father. Yeah, so yeah, poor guy. He's got to replace his refrigerator again, which sucks. Okay, anyway, that's it. I hope this has been useful and entertaining and interesting. And thank you for listening, and goodbye.